ආශාවනකම් සපිරේ අප සතු රැස් කළ අලෙවිය දැනුමෙන් හඳුනා සේවා පුදමු බැතින් ජනහත රිද්මය දැනගෙන මැනවින් නංවමු ජීවන රටා තුටින් එක්වන රොක්වන සුහදව හමුවන ශ්‍රී ලංකා වාණිජතලේ එක දශයක් තුළ සොහොයුරු හැඟුමින් ලක්ෂණතාවගේ හිතසුවේ සේවා නිපැයුම් විස්කම් දස්කම් ඔබ කර පතුරන මුළු ලොවේ අලවි කරනයේ ආයතනයයි ස්ලිම් ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ නිති පවතින තරගය වෙළනාමේ වටිනාකම් හොඳ හිත රැකදේ අප සතු රැස් කළ අලවිය දැනුමෙන් හඳුනා සේවා පුදමු බැතින් ජනහද රිද්මය දැනගෙන මැනවින් නංවමු ජීවන රටා තුටින් எந்தாய் குழுவாய் அன்பாய் சந்திக்கும் ஸ்ரீலங்காவின் வணிக துறையிலே ஒரு கொடியின் கீழ் சோதரர் போலே இலங்கை மக்களின் மனம் மகிழ சேவை தயாரிப்பு படைக்கும் திறமையும் மெருகேற்றிய உலகெங்குமே சந்தைப்படுத்திடும் நிறுவனமே ஸ்லிம் ஸ்ரீலங்கா தானே
Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome again. Good to see most of the participants who was there yesterday also, who has logged in today. Really nice. So on behalf of Biz Zone, our partner from Chilau, who is coordinating this event and powered by Sri Lanka Storm Marketing, it's a pleasure to host this event again. This also shows the strength of Sri Lanka Storm Marketing regional centers and what extent we have come. So thank you very much to the DGM Mihirini Fonseca, then Subodhami Page and Hilal for putting out this great event. Yesterday was a great success, and I'm sure today will be better because now we are coming to the practical aspects of it, of the real digital marketing. And today we have with us Rakhil Fernando, one of the most known brands like on the online platform Daraz. I think every one of you know the platform quite well, right? So there is no introduction. So he's the person who leads the operation in Sri Lanka and who is delivering all this wonderful stuff to you on a regular basis, and has kept the lockdown very interesting. One of the instrumental partners of keeping the lockdown quite okay for all of you. So welcome, Rakhil, for this session. Great to have you here today.
Hi, Pradeep. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So without taking much time. I think we have over 250 participants close to now, right? So we'll get going, right? And because I'm sure they will have a lot of questions. Yesterday also, there were a lot of questions which were shut up on the online platform questions. So I'm sure you'll have more questions to answer, right? So I would like to first for you to give an introduction to all of us about the last 5 years, how it has looked like, and how the e-commerce world has evolved during the last 5 years, especially in Sri Lanka. And you can touch a little in the global scenario as well. But if you take in Sri Lanka as per a whole.
I think the last 5 years has been probably a very exciting time to be in e-commerce in Sri Lanka. I think e-commerce in general is relatively new to the Sri Lankan market, and probably the last 5 years is when it's really found its footing in Sri Lanka and sprouted some interesting companies. Daraz, for example, we launched in Sri Lanka around actually exactly 5 years ago, this November. We launched as a platform called Kaimu, which was primarily, it was still a marketplace, but not a managed marketplace as is what is Daraz is. And we sort of, about 4 years ago is when we switched the Daraz brand name. Daraz, what it is right now, we are a managed marketplace where we offer products of all categories, from fashion to electronics to general merchandise, FMCG. But actually, when we started, we were very much a fashion-only focused company. Daraz was founded by actually a German company called Rocket Internet, and they actually launched the company first in Pakistan. And that's where the name Daraz came from. Daraz means clothes drawer in Urdu. And that's how it started as a fashion platform. But we very strategically decided to be a general marketplace around 4 years ago. And that is what we expanded to Sri Lanka as well. The company was very small when we actually launched. We were around 50 people. Our warehouse, our sorting center, our commercial team, our marketing, everyone was in a very tiny office. I think the whole office was about 600-700 square feet. And in a very short period of time, in 4 or 5 years, we've gone from 50 people to 1,500 people. We currently have about 40 hubs around the country, from 1,000 square foot, everything in one place, to now we currently operate about 4 offices in Colombo. We have a 100,000 square foot warehouse. We have another 50,000 square foot sorting center. So the company has really, really exploded in the last 4 years. I think it was right timing, right product, right market for us, and we were very lucky to sort of hit those 3 factors with our journey in Sri Lanka. I think the last 3 years have been an interesting time in Sri Lanka, where smartphone penetration really increased. Data usage, people connected to data plans also significantly increased because data prices also dropped. So sort of riding that wave, we really saw our traction and growth exponentially increase year on year. We currently are seeing well over 100% year on year growth in the business. So it's a very exciting time, and we expect actually this kind of trajectory to continue. We expect this year to be 100%. Next year also we projected to be 100%. And the reason for that is e-commerce is still very, very much a small part of overall retail in Sri Lanka. E-commerce, if you look at the whole retail pie, e-commerce is about 1%, which is tiny. If you look at China, it's 26%. If you look at India, it's about 8%. So, we are very much at the very, very early days of e-commerce. So we foresee our business to keep growing year on year, just to even catch up to our contemporary countries in the region. So it's very exciting. We're very excited, and we think the business is going in a direction that it's also super interesting and fun, to be honest.
Thanks, Rakhil. So I think it's a very good insights for our viewers, for the benefit of who is listening and wants to know some insight in Sinhala. I would like to just add a thing, Mr. Fernando. මෙච්චර වෙලා මේ explain කරේ හරිද රෙදිපිලි සඳහා ක්‍රියේට් කරපු platform එකක්. මම හිතන්නේ ඊයේ මගෙන් කෙනෙක් ප්‍රශ්නයක් ඇහුවා මොන හරි යා ක්‍රියේට් කරා කියලා hotel trade එකේ platform එකක්. හරිද ඒකේ නොමිනේ දුන්නට දැන්ට කමක් නැද්ද කියලා. පේනවාද මේ ඕන මාකට් එක පොටෙන්ෂල් එක බිල් වෙන හැටි. මේක රෙදිපිලි සඳහා මේව කරේ පාකිස්තානේ. හරිද ඊට පස්සේ world wide platform එකක් වෙලා තිනවා. හරිද දැන් ලංකාවේ රෙදිපිලි වලින් පටන් අරගෙන අද සෑම භාණ්ඩයක් මං හිතන්නේ මාකට් ලීඩර් තත්ත්වයේ ලෙවල් එකට ඇවිල්ලා තිනවා. රයිට් ඉතින් ඒක තමයි සාරාංශය වශයෙන් කිව්වේ. ඊට අමතරව මං හිතන්නේ අලුත් ඔන්ටර්ප්‍රනර්ස්ලට හොඳ පාඩමක් ඉවසීමයි ඊයේ මට මිස්ටේෂන්ෙන් පස්සෙත් කීප දෙනෙක් කතා කරා අපි දැන් වැටලා ඉන්නේ අපි මොකද්ද කරන්න ඕනි කියන එක. හරි. දැන් මිස්ටර් රකිල් කියන විදිහට ඒගොල්ලෝ පටන් ගත්තේ ඉතා සුළු ප්‍රමාණයක් එක්ක පොඩි ඔෆිස් එකක. හරිද? අද රට පුරා එක්ස්පෑන්ඩ් වෙලා මම හිතන්නේ 1500කට අධික සේවක පිරිසක් වැඩ කරන ඕගනයිසේෂන් එකක්. මුළු සිස්ටම් එකේම. රයිට්. ඉතින් හැමෝටම මම හිතන්නේ ඒක ලොකු අත්වලක් වෙයි. ඕගලන් කොහේ හරි හිර වෙලා ඉන්නවනම්. හරිද? මෙන්න අවස්ථාව හැමතිස්සෙම තියෙන. හැබැයි තවත් කියන දෙයක් තමයි තාම e-commerce market එක හරි පොඩි ලෝකෙම ගත්තොත්. හැබැයි ඒක දැන් improve වෙගෙන යනවා. හරි. ඉතින් covid වලින් පස්සේ ඒත් එච්චරම improve වෙලා නැහැ. ඒක තමයි මම ඊයේ කිව්වේ traditional marketing වලට තාම තැනක් තියෙනවා. හරිද? හැබැයි මේක ඉක්මනට grow වෙන market එකක් කියලා තමයි Mr. Rakhil මං හිතන්නේ කිව්වේ. So just today and that's I hope I translated it correct this thing. Maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong on certain things. Where do you think are the highest gaps we see today in the e-commerce industry, especially in Sri Lanka, Rakhil?
I think it's e-commerce is a very broad business, correct? So when you talk of e-commerce, you really are talking about a lot of different type of business opportunities. For us, being part of the Alibaba group, we have a lot of resources and a lot of technology that we can leverage from to really grow and expand our business and also improve our product offering to our customers. But I also do realize that everybody doesn't have access to those kind of resources. So I think in Sri Lanka, where the biggest opportunity is for people to really focus, to have e-commerce platforms that are specific to certain niches. It's very difficult to be a general, broad category e-commerce platform like ours, but it's easier to run a very focused business. For example, you have platforms like Camera.lk that are doing very well, focused on their very specific niche. So like that, I think the gaps in the market is platforms that there are not enough platforms focused on specific niches. Secondly, I think the gaps in the market is around logistics. For us, logistics is our biggest challenge when it comes to e-commerce. It's actually easier to build a website and get people to sell on it, but to get it to the person's doorstep is very difficult. And that is where we have the biggest challenges. And the reason, we have invested heavily to build our own logistics company, build our own infrastructure. We currently have about 500 riders around the country, is because there was that big gap. So I think there is another big opportunity for people to build e-commerce centric logistics, 3PLs around the country. And to service platforms like ours and service other platforms that also will emerge. So I think that's another big opportunity. Another, I think, gap that I noticed in the market is digital marketing. I think, still the marketing strategies and the digital sort of marketing platforms and the companies that provide those services still aren't providing a service that's efficient enough to drive conversion. You can spend a lot of money in digital marketing, but if that doesn't drive transactions, you're wasting a lot of money, and your ROI on those dollars or rupees spent is very poor. So I think that is also another big gap in the market that I think should be served, and that kind of service will also be great for all the other e-commerce platforms in Sri Lanka to really drive their sales and grow their businesses. Like I said, the pie is very, very big, and our slice of the pie is so small that there is opportunity for other platforms as well to really leverage and grow. But it's very important to tick all the boxes. You can't, it's very difficult to launch an e-commerce platform with bad delivery, with poor marketing, with bad customer service centric offerings. So I think a lot of those things need to be ticked before you can really grow and find scale. If not, you may get a couple of orders a day, but it'll never grow into a big business.
Thank you very much, Rakhil. So, Saranshya question කිව්වොත් මම ඇහුවේ මොනවා හරි gap එකක් තියනවද ring ගන්න මේ වෙලාවේ e-commerce market එක. හරි මොනවා හරි අවස්ථාවක් තියනවද? because මං හිතන්නේ ඔයගොල්ලන් හැමෝම බල හිටියේ මොනවා හරි අවස්ථාවක් තියනවද කියලා. මං හිතන්නේ ඉතා වැදගත් point එකක් ආවා. හරි. ඒ කියන්නේ මේ මිස් රකිල් කියන්නේ හරිද හැම දෙයකටම කෑදර වෙන්නේ නැතුව එක ස්පොට් එකකට යන්න. මම හිතන්නේ දැන් දරාස් වගේ කම්පනීස් ලොකු SKUs ගොඩක් හැන්ඩල් කරලා ඒගොල්ලන්ට සමහර ඒරියාස් වල ફોකස් වෙනවා අඩු ඇති. ඉතින් ඇත්තටම එයා හින්ට් එකක් දුන්නේ මේ කියන්නේ ඇත්තටම මම හිතන්නේ සීක්‍රට් එකක් තමයි කිව්වේ. හරිද? දැන් සමහර සයිට්ස් තියෙනවා එක ස්පෙෂලිටි cabara.l කියන. හරිද? ඒක තනිකර ඒ ප්‍රොඩක්ට්ස් විතරයි කරන්නේ. ඉතින් ඒ වගේ නිෂ් මාකට්ස් තියෙන්න පුළුවන්. හරිද? ඕගලන්ට හොඳ සර්විස් එකක් දෙන්න පුළුවන්. හරිද? මම හිතන්නේ මම සමහර එක්සැම්පල්ස් මෙතන ගන්න because මට පෞද්ගලිකව ඊයේ ගොඩක් කෝල්ස් ආවා. සමහර ඒ වගේ ඒගොල්ලන්ට මට හෙට කෝල් කරොත් හරි මට කියන්න පුළුවන් මොනවද කරන්න ඕනේ කියන එක. because මේ මිස් රකිල් කියන්නේ හරිද අපිට පුළුවන් නම් ඒ නිෂ් මාකට්ස් වල ඒරියාස් වලට කන්සන්ට්‍රේට් කරලා එතන ලොකු ગેප් එකක් තියෙනවා. because මම හිතන්නේ even for a big time person like Daraz sometimes සමහර SKUs ගොඩක් මිස් වෙනවා ඇති obviously. හරිද? they are having 500 riders 500 දෙනෙක් motor bicycle වලින් deliver කරනවා. හරිද? ඒ 21 මිලියන එක 21 මිලියන් population එක cover කරද්දී අනිවාර්යෙන් gaps තියෙන්න පුළුවන්. හරිද? නැත්නම් Daraz තව ලොකු වෙන්න ඕනේ. right? so ඒ අවස්ථාව ඔයගලන්ට තියෙනවා තාම. හරි තාම මාකට් එකේ ඉඩ තියෙනවා. තාම huge potential එකක් තියෙන මාකට් එකක්. හරිද? අනික තමයි තව එකක් මම හිතන්නේ යාගේ පළවෙනි chapter එකේ highlight කරපු ලංකාවේ smartphone users ලා ගොඩක් වැඩි. හරිද? compared to some other countries. so ඒ opportunities ඔයගලන්ට ගන්න පුළුවන්. හරි ඉතින් මම හිතන්නේ එතන ඔයගලන්ට හොඳ opening එකක් එනවා. right? so thank you very much. And what has Daraz done over the last 2 to 3 years to really drive growth in business? Because we have seen you guys really coming up and at once coming out with a big bang. Actually it was not with COVID, right? Even before that Daraz was known, and we also there's a buzz in the market where people say, okay, Daraz will give you the best price, right? And I can still remember even for my Fitbit, I think I got the cheapest price from Daraz, where all the places were very, very expensive. That's the first time I made a purchase from Daraz, right? So how did you get there?
For us, I think, as our core business as our core value proposition, we really want to focus on 3 things. Make sure that we always have the cheapest price before discount. So even before discount, we want to make sure that we're the lowest retail price available for every product. We want to make sure that we are selling high quality products as much as possible. Now, that is one of our biggest challenges, because being a marketplace, anybody can list any product and sell it on the site. So because of that, it's one of our biggest challenges, but that is also one of our biggest efforts and value propositions, because we want to make sure that as much as possible, any product available on the site is of good quality, and ideally not a fake. Then next is we want to make sure we have the fastest delivery. Now, I think over the last 3 years, we've really had some great strides to make sure those 3 are ticked: fastest delivery, cheap, lowest price, and best product and biggest product range. When I took over Daraz 2 years ago, we had about 500,000 products on the site. Now we have over 3 million. So our biggest offering is something also that we really take pride on. But when you look at those 3 things, at the end of the day, if you don't have a very customer-centric business operation, always building the business and making decisions, always looking at the customer-first approach, you're never going to grow. It's always going to be, taking shortcuts and finding reasons to do certain things. And at the end, the customer is going to be let down. So about 2 years ago, we really changed our strategy to focus less on driving sales to more on offering a customer-centric product and a customer-centric service. And that kind of investment has really, really paid dividend for us. Again, 2 years ago, when we were on average, a product when you ordered from Daraz, now it took about 6 days to get to you. Now it takes less than 3 days. When you return a product, before it took about 2-3 weeks to return and get a refund. Now we're trying to keep it for less than 10 days. So like that, we're really putting on a lot of service level standards to make sure it's always a customer-centric approach. But saying that, we also have heavily invested in marketing over the last 2 years. I think, we as a business really found a tipping point of where we were 2 years ago to where we are right now. And when the business really grew from where we were to where we are right now, we found a reason to invest further in our marketing. If you notice, in the last couple of years, we really gone big in our marketing, sponsoring the cricket teams, sponsoring cricket tournaments, doing big commercials, doing big campaigns. You'll probably see more Daraz commercials on TV and hear it on radio as well. So we're really trying to get the brand out there and make it top of mind to consumers. Marketing is very important at the end of the day to build the brand. We want to make sure the brand is always top of mind and make sure that people associate Daraz with quality and good service standards. And I think we've done a good job doing it thus far over the last 2 years as well.
Yeah, so thank you very much. මේ අවස්ථාවේදී ගොඩක් කතා කරේ දරාස් කියන නම පෞගිය මේ කොවිඩ් කාලේ විතරක් නෙමෙයි ඊට ඉස්සෙල්ලා සෑහෙන තැනකට ආපු නමක්. ඒක තමයි කොවිඩ් කාලේ වෙද්දී නම ඊට වඩා ප්‍රචලිත වුණේ. ඉක්මනට grasp කරේ. මම කිව්වා platforms හදාගෙන හිටපු කට්ටිය හොඳ benefit එකකින් ගත්තා. ඉතින් ඒක කරන්න මොකද්ද කරේ කියලා තමයි මම ඇහුවේ. එතකොට ඒකට මට හම්බෙච්ච පිළිතුර තමයි අපිට හම්බෙච්ච පිළිතුර තමයි ඔයගොල්ලෝ දන්නවා. ඔයගොල්ලන් තේරෙන්නේ නැති. තුනක් aspects ඒ කියන්නේ කාර්යයන් තුනක් ගැන ફોකස් කරා. එකක් තමයි අඩුම මිලට භාණ්ඩය සපයන්න. හැබැයි උපරිම quality එකකින්, හොඳම quality එකකින්, right? and ඒක වේගවත්ව deliver කරන්න. මේක තමයි පළවෙනි කාර්යය. මම හිතන්නේ ඒක ඔයගොල්ලන්ට පේනවා ඇති. හරිද? මේක අපි ඊයේ ඩිස්කස් කරා. සමහර වෙලාවට අපිට ගොඩාක් ලොකු plans කරන්න බෑ. දැන් ලක්ෂ 5ක SKU කරන් 3 million වලට යන්න මෙන්න මේ වගේ සුළු කාරණා තුනක් තමයි අයිඩෙන්ටිෆයි කරලා තියෙන්නේ, right? ඉතින් මේක හොඳ පණිවිඩයක්. හරි මං අපි දන්නවා සාමාන්‍යයෙන් ජාත්‍යන්තර එක්සැම්පල් එකකට ගත්තොත් Amazon වගේ කම්පැනි එකකුත් හරිද? ඒගොල්ලෝ ඒ කාලේ ස්ටෝර්ස් තියෙන කාලෙත් කරේ highest quality, lowest price, right? and ඒගොල්ලෝගේ තිබ්බා by return policy එකක්. ඉතින් ඒ වගේ දැන් ඒක තමයි මේ මිස් රකීබුත් කිව්වේ return policy එක ගැනත් ඒගොල්ලෝ ගොඩක් බැලුවා කොහොමද ඒක කරනවා නම් කරන්න කියලා. ඉතින් මේ හරි lazy operation එකක් නෙමෙයි, right? හැබැයි ඒ thinking and ඒ ගමන ගිය හැටි ගැන තමයි කිව්වේ. So the next question that I want to ask you is like about the brand and the future of the brand. What is the thinking and how do you and the company plan to position your brand in the future, and where do you what is your ambitions, the managing director of the company?
So we have some big plans for Daraz in Sri Lanka. I think I'm happy to even announce now that Daraz is going to be a sponsor of the Global Olympics. We are going to be announcing that in the next couple of days that we are a global partner for the Olympics. Then also we plan to do more big events. So I think the main areas we're looking at is sponsorships, events, as well as campaigns. I think those are the three main areas that we're really going to invest further and further. The Olympics is a good example of a associated sponsorship that association sponsorship that we plan to do over the next couple of years. We also plan to invest in other sports as well, the cricket. Like you guys have seen, we have the overseas sponsor for the national cricket team. That is something we plan to continue over the next couple of years. We're also looking at going into other local sports. We really think that being associated with sports is a great brand equity builder for Daraz. So I think those kind of sponsorships is something we're really going to look at. Then we are also going to look at events. As we are launching more categories and more features, we're going to have more events where our consumers can engage with our brand. It's as an online company, it's very difficult for us to interact with our customers. So we look at events as a way to really engage with our customers and to get feedback from them as well, and also for them to engage with Daraz and have a great experience with Daraz. So I think a lot of more events will be planned over the next couple of years as well, in big scale. That we really have planned. For example, we have planned to bring down a global famous DJ and have a huge concert for tens of thousands of people. We actually were hoping to do this year, but now with COVID, we're going to push it to next year, and take out all of Golf Green and have a huge concert. So like that, we want to have big events and big sponsorships to really show where Daraz is as a company, and to also get our consumers to be proud and to be happy to shop on Daraz and to be proud that they've shopped on Daraz and to be associated with a company like ours as well. So I think it's going to be very, very exciting times for us as a company. We always plan to do things a bit different to other brands. We want to do things a bit younger and a bit more sort of approachable as a brand than a lot of these more traditional brands that you find, because our target demographic is also very young and very more tech savvy as well. So I think we really have a lot of great things lined up for the company, but also for the country as well. The way we look at it is whatever we do as a company when it comes to branding, when it comes to events, we want to really understand that we're doing this for our customers. We're doing this for Sri Lanka. And we hope to sort of people see that in the next couple of months and years as well. So, the Olympics will be a good example of something where we want to really support our Sri Lankan athletes going to the Olympics, and we're planning to do some sponsorships and give them support and show our support to those individuals as well. So that should be announced in the next week, I think.
So thank you very much. So mage ඊළඟ ප්‍රශ්නය උනේ අපි හැමතිස්සෙම කතා කරනවා brand එකක් develop වෙනවා වගේම brand එක consistency එකක් maintain කරන්න ඕනේ. When you become a market leader, හරි market එකේ share එකක් ගත්තාම අපි ඒකට relevant investment එක කරේ නැත්නම් brand එකක් කඩා වැටෙන්න පුළුවන්. හරි අපි ඒක දැකලා තියෙනවා ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ ගොඩක්. හරිද සමහර ලොකු brands හැදිලා තියෙනවා. හැබැයි investment එකක් නැති හින්දා brand එකට advertising වලට promotion වලට investment එකක් නැති හින්දා competitors ලා come and eat your brand. හරිද වෙන කෙනෙක් ඒ තැන ගන්නවා. අපි හිතන් ඉන්නවා we take for granted our brand. Actually we see that you must be a very rich brand to sponsor Sri Lanka cricket at the given moment, right? Because sponsoring Sri Lanka cricket is a prestige itself, right? දැන් මේ ඔබලා දකින්න ඇති ජාත්‍යන්තර ඒ ක්‍රීඩා කරන ශ්‍රී ලංකා කණ්ඩායමේ ටී-ෂර්ට් එකේ ස්පොන්සරින් එක දරාස් බංග්ලාදේශ කණ්ඩායමෙත් මං හිතන්නේ මෙදා පාර හිටියේ දරාස් රයිට් ඉතින් මේක ග්ලෝබල් ස්ට්‍රැටජියක් හැටියට යන ප්ලෑන් එකක් ඒත් එක්කම ඔලිම්පික්ස් ඒ කියන්නේ බලන්න ඒගොල්ලෝ හැම සෙග්මන්ට් එකේම ඇඩ්වර්ටයිස් කරන්නේ නැහැ ඒගොල්ලෝ මම හිතන්නේ ස්පෝර්ට්ස් තමයි පික් කරලා තින්නේ මේක ඒ කියන්නේ ඒගොල්ලෝගේ ටාගට් මාකට් එක මං ඊයේ ඕගලන්ට කතා කරා TGs ගැන හරිද මොන ටාගට් මාකට්ස් වලටද අපේ ඒ ඔඩියන්ස් දැන් පේනවද සිලෙක්ට් කරලා තියෙන ඔඩියන්ස් එක යංගර් ක්‍රවුඩ් එක තමයි ගොඩක් ස්පෝර්ට්ස් වලට යන්නේ සීනියර් ක්‍රවුඩ් එකත් ස්පෝර්ට්ස් ගොඩක් බලනවා ඒ සෙග්මන්ට්ස් දෙකම ටාගට් කරලා ශ්‍රී ලංකා ක්‍රිකට් රයිට් නැෂනල් ස්පෝර්ට් එකක් අරගෙන තියෙනවා ඒත් එක්කම ඔලිම්පික්ස් වලට ඇත්ලටික්ස් වලට ගොඩක් ස්පොන්සර්ෂිප්ස් අඩුයි හරිද ඉතින් ඒගොල්ලෝ ඒක අවස්ථාවක් හැටියට අරන් තිනවා බ්‍රෑන්ඩින් කරන්න ඉතින් මං හිතන්නේ ඒක තව හොඳ initiative එකක් අරගෙන තියෙන right okay then about the next verticals or what is your future do you are planning any diversification or any other activities because see now you have come to a certain level right and you are doing really well and I'm sure the intention of going with such a big branding campaign has something behind your thinking or your company global thinking but you all want to diversify or move into any surprises or anything that we can see like that.
So I think, what you'll hear very soon for us is we're going to go very aggressive into the financial services and payments vertical. For example, we're looking at potentially acquiring or getting our own banking license in Sri Lanka or even other markets. But we're also looking at, we don't want to go into traditional banking. our traditional financial services. We want to really provide a digital-first, data-driven, consumer-centric financial services business, very much like what Daraz is. So you'll see interesting products and services coming out in that over the next couple of months, actually. Then in entertainment, we as a company, our plan is to make Daraz a destination for entertainment, not just to shop, but also to browse, to have fun, to interact, play games. So entertainment is another area we're going to invest heavily into. Now you've seen this with Amazon Video. Similar to that, we are also looking at similar strategies. We may not, create our own content in the short term, but you will be able to enjoy free entertainment through the Daraz app sooner than later. We will probably start with sports first, and then go into other entertainment segments. Then gaming is another area we have experimented with before, and we realized we want to invest further into that. So there'll be a gaming segment and a gaming platform associated with Daraz as well. So I think, entertainment and financial services is an area that we're really going to focus a lot in the next 12 months on the consumer side. We're having other, strategic investments on our, enterprise side in logistics and things like that. But on the consumer front, it's entertainment and financial services that we plan to launch in a very, quite soon. But it'll be very different to what you see right now from other banks or other entertainment companies, like streaming companies and things like that, local at least.
Yeah, so thank you very much. Mama ඇහුවේ ප්‍රශ්නය තමයි මොකක්ද ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ ඊළඟ බලාපොරොත්තු? දැන් මෙච්චර ලෙවල් එකට ඇවිල්ලා තිනවා. අනිකේ මෙච්චර මාකටිං වලට ඉන්වෙස්ට් කරද්දී මොන හරි දෙයක් ඇති. මොකක්ද ඒක මේක පිටිපස්සේ තියෙන රහස කියන එක. හරිද? එතකොට පිළිතුර තමයි Daraz කියන කම්පැනි එක financial services වලට ඒ කියන්නේ මම හිතන්නේ payment platforms හරිද? or some mainly they are going to diversify to financial services and entertainment. Entertainment කියන්නේ ලොකු මාකට් එකක්, right? උයි gaming මම හිතන්නේ gaming කියන එක අපි ලංකාවේ වුණත් ගොඩක් කට්ටිය foreign වෙන platforms use කරනවා, right? so මම හිතන්නේ ඒ වගේ diversification එකට යන්න තමයි ඒගොල්ලෝ investment එක කරන්නේ. investment එක කියන්නේ ඒගොල්ලෝ current brand එක රකින්න ගමන් ඇත්තටම current brand එක රකින්න අපි හැමතිස්සෙම brand එකේ awareness එකක් තියෙන්න ඕනේ. so ඒගොල්ලෝ මං හිතන්නේ ශ්‍රී ලංකා ක්‍රිකට් වගේ එකක් ස්පොන්සර් කරන්න වෙන බංග්ලාදේශ වල ක්‍රිකට් වගේ එකක් ස්පොන්සර් කරන්න ඒගොල්ලෝගේ තියෙන ලොකුම objective එක වෙන්න ඇත්තේ ලොකුම ඒගොල්ලෝගේ thinking වෙන්න ඇත්තේ definitely customers ලට confidence එකක් දෙන්න අපිට හොඳට සල්ලි තියෙන brand එකක්. එතකොට ඔයගොල්ලන් අපිට invest කරන්නේදී ඔයගොල්ලන් buy. So see, this is super marketing. හරිද? giving customer the confidence before that. නැත්තම් එකපාරට financial services පටන් ගත්තා නම් කට්ටිය හිතයි financial service කරන තරම් Daraz strength එකක් තියනවද? I think Rakhil, you can correct me if I'm wrong, if I've done any wrong statement. Let's see. ඕක හොඳම example එක. දැන් අපි දන්නවා බංග්ලාදේශ වල ග්‍රාමීණ concept එක කොහොමද ආවේ කියන එක, right? So I think ඒක තමයි behind the thinking. Going to my next question, I think now you all have been doing so great in all areas, and definitely one thing I also spoke about is all this happens because of people, right? And your team and your staff, right? So you have your staff here in Sri Lanka and you're a global company, but forget about the global aspect because I think being Sri Lankans, let's talk about the Sri Lankan aspect of it. Can you just give a small thought about your team, your staff, or what you have to boast about what they have been doing?
So I one thing I'm most proud about with Daraz is the team we have. They are the biggest asset we have as a company. It's a very, very young team. Average age of our employees is only around 25 years old. So it's a very young and relatively inexperienced team. We take a lot of people straight out of university, or even some cases straight out of school, and we train them up. But we find sometimes that's the best way to really groom our people the Daraz way. Daraz as a company really has high expectations from our employees. We expect 100% year-on-year growth. We expect commitment, and we expect hard work. But so in reward, we make sure that it's a fun environment as well. Daraz, we take a lot of pride in having a very casual, flat structure. Not much hierarchy when it comes to superiors and things like that. And it's a very open culture. People can share their ideas, speak their mind. Anybody can walk into my desk, into my room, and share their ideas or their feedback. So I think that really creates a very open company that also then translates to a very innovative company, because ideas come from everywhere. So I think, the people we have is our best asset, and how we groom them to be free thinking, hardworking, speak their mind, share their ideas. No one has a bad idea. Anyone can be proven wrong. If a low staff member thinks that a manager is doing something correctly, they're happy to, the culture is that they can talk to them and tell them, listen, I think it should be done a different way. And that's the kind of culture we build. And it's really worked for us because it's resulted in, a very, very young team growing a very, very big business. Daraz right now, our sales are, in excess of 35 billion rupees a year. So we plan for that to double next year. So it's a very young team running a very, very large company when it comes to sales. So I think they are definitely our biggest asset.
Yeah, thank you very much. So mama ඇහුවේ මමත් ඊයේ මම හිතේ කිව්වේ අපි හැමතිස්සෙම අපි මොන දේ කරත් අපේ සේවකයෝ එක්ක අපේ ටීම් එක ඒක තමයි අපිට ප්‍රතිලාභ දෙන්නේ. ඉතින් මේ දරාස් කියන කම්පැනි එකේ මොකද්ද යා මැනේජින් ඩිරෙක්ටර් හැටියට ටීම් එක ගැන මොනවද කියන්න තියෙන්නේ කියද්දි පිළිතුරුනේ ඉතා යන් ටීම් එකක් ඉන්නේ තරුණ කණ්ඩායමක් right උයි ඒගොල්ලොන්ගේ උනන්දුවයි මහන්සියයි අගය කරනවා. ඒ ටීම් එකකින් තමයි අදහසුත් ගන්නෙ. මං කිව්වා ඊයේ මගෙන් කවුද ඇහුවම ලොක්ඩවුන් එකේ මොකද්ද කරන්නේ? මේක තමයි මං කිව්වා හොඳම අවස්ථාව හැමෝගෙම අදහස් ගන්න. දැන් මිස්ටර් රකිල් කියන්නේ මේ ඒගොල්ලොන්ගේ ටීම් එකේ හැමෝගෙම අදහස් ගන්නවා ඒගොල්ලොන්ගේ බෙනිෆිට් එකට. කලබනාකරුවෙක්ගේ තීරණයක් වුණත් වෙන මට්ටම කෙනෙක්ට ප්‍රශ්න කරන්න පුළුවන්. මම හිතන්නේ මේක තමයි ඕපන් කල්චර්, ෆ්ලැට් කල්චර් එකක් කියන්නේ. right? ඕන කෙනෙක්ට මිස්ටර් රකිල්ව හම්බෙන්න පුළුවන්. එයාගේ වැඩ කරන තැන right very open culture. So මම හිතන්නේ මේක තමයි අලුත් ට්‍රෙන්ඩ් එක right. සමහර තැන් වලට මේක හොඳට වැඩ කරනවා, සමහර තැන් වැඩ කරන්නේ අපි කල්චර් එකෙන් කල්චර් එකට වෙනස් වෙනවා right. ඉතින් මේක තමයි දරාස් එකේ සක්සස් එකේ ඉතින් people කියන එක. එතකොට my next question is to recently you all were awarded one of the great places to work right. So winning great places to work, having a staff of 500 riders right, because I think it's a very hard thing to keep people on the field motivated, right? So I personally feel it's a great achievement. Any secret behind it?
I think for us, it's motivation is about the culture you build. We are, like I said, it's a very high pressure environment when you have the expectations of growth on our staff members. So it's that there can be moments where people are worked very hard, and there can be moments that people that can be very challenging, and we do realize that. So we try to create an atmosphere that allows people to, I think when people have the freedom to engage and interact with their senior management, share their ideas, then also people understand why they need to work hard. On top of that, I think we have a lot of programs in the organization to really help a lot of our staff members. For example, we are just about to launch a new program called the Daraz Rise Academy. Now, what that is we have a majority of our workforce in Sri Lanka is people who work in our warehouses or people who do our deliveries. But we also realize that people don't want to be delivery riders for the rest of their lives. They want to aspire to do more, grow in the organization and do more interesting roles as well, or different roles. And we are providing free training. We are going to be providing them free scholarships to get diplomas or certificates to get trained up in other areas of the business, so they can grow and also evolve in their careers as well. Now, why we offer these is we realize that if people are coming to us to do these kind of roles like deliveries, and these are hard-working, high intense roles, we want to reward them and to give them opportunities to find other areas of interest to work in as well. So these kind of programs we think are very important to keep our staff motivated, keep them excited about what they're doing, and also to be excited about the future. I think whoever works for you, the most important thing is to keep them excited about their future. If people feel like they're stagnant, if people feel that they're not going to go anywhere, if people feel like this job is a dead end, they won't work hard for you. They will eventually get bored of working for you. They will not enjoy their job, and eventually your company will also suffer. So the most important thing is to keep people very excited and be positive about their future, and give them opportunities to be positive about their future. And that's the kind of environment we want to create for all our staffs, from the person who's sweeping the floor at our warehouse to our senior executives as well.
Yeah, thank you very much. මගේ ඊළඟ ප්‍රශ්නය වුණේ ළඟදී දරස් ආයතනයට ලැබුණා great place to work. ඒ කියන්නේ ලංකාවේ වැඩ කරන හොඳම ස්ථානයකින් එකක් හැටියට ඔවුන් තේරුණා. සාමාන්‍යයෙන් බයිසිකල් රයිඩර්ස්ලා 500ක් වැඩ කරන තැනක ඒ වගේ සම්මානයක් ලබන්න ලේසි නෑ. because මං හිතන්නේ හරි මහන්සි ජොබ් එකක්. හරි it's very difficult, especially in a environment. මං ඇහුවා ඒක කොහොමද වුණේ කියන එක. කට්ටිය එච්චර මොටිවේට් වෙන්න හේතුව මේක ස්ටාෆ් එකෙන් උත්තර දෙන්න ඕනේ මේ ප්‍රශ්න වලට. 1500ක ස්ටාෆ් එකට කියලා බොරුවට අවෝඩ් එකක් දිනන්න බෑ. right? ඉතින් මේකට හේතුව මං අහද්දී එතුමා කිව්වේ මේකට මූලික හේතුව උනේ අපි අපේ ස්ටාෆ් එක හැමතිස්සෙම ට්‍රේනින් ඇන්ඩ් ඩෙවලොප්මන්ට් වලට යොමු කරනවා. හරිද? ඒගොල්ලෝ රයිඩර් කෙනෙක් හැමදාම රයිඩර් කෙනෙක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. යාට කවදා හරි කම්පැනි එකේ CEO හරි මැනේජින් ඩිරෙක්ටර් වෙන්න හරි පාත් එක පෙන්වනවා. ඒකට අවශ්‍ය ට්‍රේනින් ඇන්ඩ් ඩෙවලොප්මන්ට් එක දෙනවා. අතුගාන කෙනා ස්ටෝර්ස් එකේ වුණත් යාට ඒ අවස්ථාව දීලා තියෙනවා ඒ තැනට යන්න. ඉතින් මං හිතන්නේ ඒක ඇත්තටම වචනයකින් නෙමෙයි, ඒගොල්ලෝ හැමතිස්සෙම ක්‍රියාවෙන් පෙන්නලා තියෙනවා ඒගොල්ලෝගේ සේවකයන්ට. ඒක හින්දා සේවකයන් ඒ තබු විශ්වාසය තහවුරු කරමින් ඒගොල්ලන්ට මේ සම්මානය ලැබුණු බව තමයි Mr. Rakhil කිව්වේ. Right? So another thing, Rakhil, I think I should have asked this question from you very much earlier, but building customer confidence, because see, the time that you all entered, I think now people have very much confidence in online delivery where your products will come to you, right? But the time you started, or there was a time that, even I was telling yesterday, even me to switch to online banking, it took a long time, right? Actually, this crisis only switched me, because we are not a nation who is really confident on online delivery. Will it come? Will our credit card get hacked or something like that will happen? These are always questions. What is the current customer base you have that you have gained confidence approximately, right? And how did you gain this confidence? What did you do special to gain this confidence from customers? Because why I'm asking this again is, it's a time they're true. Daraz as a brand also came up, but there were so many companies also where there was some fake things happening at that time, right? This is, how did you build the customer's confidence?
So I think that's all. Building customer confidence is not something that is a destination. It's always an ongoing moving target. As we grow as a business, we have to constantly keep earning the trust of our customers, because it only takes your next order to be unhappy with Daraz. And that's the nature of our business, and that's always something that we are challenged to always constantly invest in and improve our processes and improve our standards and make sure our staff are trained up to maintain to be able to reach those service levels. Now, what I would say is that, are we perfect in how we operate? 100% we're not. There's so much room to improve. Right now we have about 1.5 million unique customers, visitors who come to our platform every month. And it only takes 0.5%, and 0.5% is 7,500 people. Yeah. If that 0.5% is unhappy, that's a lot of angry people every month. So, a business like ours, being customer centric and to make sure our customer experience is good is always such a huge challenge when you deal with that kind of volume. And we definitely don't have 7,500 people unhappy every month, but even if it's a couple of hundred people unhappy every month, that is a very loud group of customers who can really tarnish our brand and make, change the perception of our brand. So we are always fighting even to make sure those 100 people or those 200 people every month don't have a bad experience. And that is very difficult, and it's actually very expensive to make sure you come up through for every order. When we are delivering 25,000 orders a day. Yeah. So if one, like I said, if 0.5% of those orders, people are unhappy, that's 125 people every day who's unhappy. And, it really adds up. So, for us, it's constantly investing, constantly training, constantly looking at our processes and making sure that there's always, finding areas to always improve on and making sure we make those changes. And I think that is also one of the key lessons to learn. When you're building a business to scale, you have to always evolve. You have to always audit your business and try to find areas that are mistakes, and don't ignore those problems. Don't ignore those mistakes. Make sure you put in processes, make sure you're putting steps to fix those mistakes, because those incremental small improvements result in a big change in outcome and a positive outcome. And that's actually one of the steps we've taken over the last couple of years, to go into very small detail, look at the little bits of data here and there, and make small changes, and that has a big impact overall.
Right, thank you. So මගේ ඊළඟ ප්‍රශ්නය උනේ පාරිභෝගිකයාගේ විශ්වාසය තබා ගන්න එක හරි ඉම්පෝර්ටන්ට් මේ වගේ බිස්නස් එක. ඒක කොහොමද ඩරාස් කියන කම්පැනි එක තියාගත්තේ දිගටම? උයි ලංකාව වගේ රටක අපි තවත් දැක්කා සමහර ව්‍යාපාරවල මෙහි විශ්වාස පළදුවීම් වෙනවා. ඉතින් ඒගොල්ලෝ කොහොමද මේ පළදුවීම් එක මේක කරේ? එතකොට ඒක පිළිතුරු උනේ ඔව් එහෙම සිදුවීම් වුණාට අපි හැමතිස්සෙම පොඩි දෙයි නම් මොන හරි ඩිලිවරි එකක් හරියට වුණත් බලනවා ඇයි ඒක හරියට උනේ, right? වැරදුනොත් බලනවා ඇයි ඒක වැරදිට තිබුණේ. හරි, මේකේ තව ක්‍රූෂල් පොයින්ට් එකක් තමයි රකිල් කියන හැමතිස්සෙම අපි කොච්චර හොඳට ඩිලිවර් කරපු කස්ටමර් කෙනෙක් හරි එක ඩිලිවරි එකක් ප්‍රශ්නයක් ආවත්, right, ඒක ගැන කම්ප්ලේන්ට් කරලා මුළු අර හදපු මුළු නමම නැති වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඉතින් ඒක හැමතිස්සෙම ફોකස් කරගෙන හැමතිස්සෙම රිසර්ච් කරනවා. අපි ඊයේත් කතා කරා රිසර්ච් ගැන. මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ? ඇයි එහෙම වුනේ? අපි හොඳට කරොත් ඇයි හොඳට වුනේ? අපි නරකට වුණත් ඇයි නරකට වුනේ? ඉතින් මං හිතන්නේ ඒකේ කන්සිස්ටන්සි එක තියාගෙන තමයි ඒගොල්ලොන් ඒ තත්වය තියාගෙන තියෙන්නේ. So something very similar to the customers. After customers is to keep your people. I know now I spoke about great place to work and everything, but still to keep your people so pumped up always, and to keep the consistency. Do you do something now for succession planning and for people to be motivated? Yes, you're doing trainings and everything and so, things like that. But to keep them so energetic and pumped up, what do you do, Rakhil? Something special?
I think for us it's a tough balance. It's not easy to keep your staff energetic and pumped up when you also expect them to work hard, because people do get burnt out. So for us it's a couple of things. We like I said, to be excited about your career, we make sure that people always have a road ahead. There's a journey that they can go down. If they succeed in their role, there's places they can go, and we have perfect examples of that. We have people who have been delivery riders who are now managers. We have our Sri Lanka's commercial director is now the chief of commercial officer of Pakistan as well, which is our largest market. Our Pakistan business is about 100 billion rupee business. So they've seen examples of people who have been in local roles or at junior positions who have really excelled. So that keeps people motivated. But also, we have to find that balance, that work-life balance. We as a company, COVID's been very difficult, but during non-COVID times, we always make sure that we have fun. Every month there's a company party. Every week our teams get together and go out with each other, and it's all company funded. Then we constantly have events done by our marketing team for our staff members as well. Because we have such a young workforce, it's easy for us to engage with them, but also we try to make sure that they're having fun at work. So it's an informal culture, I think, that's created that energetic, young, hopeful mindset of our staff to still work hard and grow a very hyper growth business.
Yeah. මගේ ඊළඟ ප්‍රශ්නය උනේ පාරිභෝගිකයට පස්සේ වටිනම කෙනා තමයි ඒ සේවය ලබා දීමට තමාගේ සේවකීනගින්. එතකොට එතනදී උත්තරය තමයි වචනය පරිසමාර්ථයටම ඒගුළුන්ගේ සේවකයන්ට ඒ අවශ්‍ය පාසුකම් ලබා දෙනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ ලංකාවේ සේවය කරපු කෙනෙක් තමයි අද පාකිස්තානයේ සේල් සෙට් කරන්නේ. ඒ කියන්නේ ඒක තමයි ලොකුම ඔපරේෂන් එක ඩරාස් වල. ඉතින් ඒ වගේ තැනකට යන්න උනත් ඒගොල්ලන්ට අවස්ථාව තියෙනවා. බයිසිකල් එක පැදලා ඩිලිවරි කරන කෙනෙක් කඩමනාකරුවෙක් වෙලා තියෙනවා. ඊට අමතරව පවුලක් හැටියට එකට ඉන්නේ. කියන්නේ පුළුවන් තරම් ඒගොල්ලෝ සෙලිබ්‍රේට් කරනවා. ඒගොල්ලෝගේ පාටිස් ද ඒගොල්ලෝගේ ඉවෙන්ට්ස් ද ඒ කියන්නේ ඒගොල්ලෝ හැමෝම එකට ලින්ක් වෙලා ඉන්නේ. ඉතින් ඒකෙන්ද ඒගොල්ලෝ මේ රස්සාව ආසාවෙන් කරනවා. මං හිතන්නේ දැන් මේ වගේ අවස්ථාවකදී ඒක අපිට හොඳට පේනවා. මුළු රටක්ම වහලා හැමෝම ගෙදරක ඉන්න වෙලාවට ඒගොල්ලෝ වැඩ right. ඉතින් ඒකට පුදුම මොටිවේෂන් එකක් තියෙනවා. අනික වැඩ කරන්නේ පුදුම ප්‍රෙෂර් එකක් එක්ක ලෙඩක් අපිට තියාගෙන right. So ඉතින් මම හිතන්නේ මේ වගේ මොටිවේෂන් ලෙවල් එකක් නැත්නම් ඒක කරන්න බෑ. So thank you very much for that beautiful answer. And my final question as from me, what I want to ask you is, do you see any competition coming in for you indirectly, because since now you all also going to diversify onto different other lines as well? Will you lose the plot, right? By the try maybe the because I'm seeing a lot of people are very interested in online platforms now, right? And when others are so interested in online platforms, you are trying to diversify to something else. Is it risky? What do you talk about it?
So for us, it's yeah, when it comes to do we see competition coming into Sri Lanka? Definitely. We as Daraz grows and as we grow the online market, online e-commerce share of retail in Sri Lanka, you're going to see other players locally and from overseas coming and trying to take a share of that pie. Now that's the nature of the business, and we realize that's going to happen one day, sooner or later. So our plan is to make sure that we build and invest in this market and build our brand and invest in the infrastructure and invest in our people enough that when that day happens and you do have competition coming in with deep pockets, we are ready to take them on and then operate with them in the local market. Now, when it comes to players locally entering the market, I think as a general marketplace, it does require a big investment, and it does require the right people and the right technology. And till this date, I think the reason you've seen a lot of local e-commerce players come and go is because the right investment and the right dedication to the customer-centric experience and the investment to scale the business hasn't been put in place. So that's why I believe it's the primary reason you see a lot of local players come and go. But I think when it comes to international players like the likes of Flipkart or Amazon or whoever in the region wants to enter, I think that will happen. I'll be surprised if it doesn't. And that is why we also believe that we need to also diversify and have these other offerings, because if we can create some incredible customer-centric products around other verticals like entertainment or financial services, at the end of the day, we need to give the customer, it's our responsibility to give the customer a reason to use Daraz and a reason to come back to Daraz. And that is why we want to invest in these products to make it a preferred choice. And that is what we will do over the next couple of months and years. And hopefully that will be a defendable business and operation when competitors do come. But in Sri Lanka, I think, you need, whoever wants to launch a big, a platform to be a general marketplace, to offer, island-wide delivery, to offer products across all categories or many categories. The main thing is to make sure that you have the right capital and investment in place, because it's not a cheap business to run. It's not a asset-light business to run. People think, e-commerce is a website and it's asset-light. It's definitely not. When you have to operate hundreds of thousands of square feet of warehousing and 1,500 people and offices around, and a lot of complexities they very quickly come in. But that is what it's needed to operate in this scale and operate also in a very hyper growth environment.
Yeah. So මගේ ඊළඟ ප්‍රශ්නය වුණේ obviously competition අනාගතයේදී උයි දැන්ටම එනවා. ඒකට කොහොමද මුහුණ දෙන්නේ? ඒ අතරතුරේ උන් වෙන දේවල් වලට diversify වෙන එක threat එකක් වේද කියන එක. හැබැයි රකිල්ගේ පැහැදිලි පිළිතුරනේ ඒගොල්ලෝ organization එකකට දැන් හොඳට establish. හරි. ඒතර කොහොමදත් competition එනවා. හරිද? ඒ competition ඒගොල්ලෝ කොහොමදත් face කරන්න ලෑස්ති. ඒකත් එක්කම ඒගොල්ලෝගේ diversification වෙන්නේ. එතකොට ඒගොල්ලෝගේ business කොහොමද stabilize වෙලා තියෙන එක. ඉතින් මම හිතන්නේ හොඳ ගමන ආරම්භයක්. So I had the first question to ask you which have been coming. දැන් මගේ මම අහපු ප්‍රශ්න ටික ඉවරයි. දැන් ඇත්තටම අපිට ඕගලන්ගෙන් ලැබෙන ප්‍රශ්නයකින් එක මම මිස් රකිල්ගෙන් අහනවා, right? The first question actually is a little critical, it's a little controversial question. I think something that you must be facing on a regular basis is about, there is sometimes a social media post when, like you said, you very correctly said initially also, there is a lot of criticism when one order is badly delivered, maybe, right? That some items are not delivered as expected. So if you want a pen, what goes is a watch or something else, right? So in situations like this, there have been things going around. Is this true, or how do you handle situations like that?
So, situations like that definitely happen, and situations like that are 100% unavoidable. Even, with 25,000 orders a day, 1% of 1% is still 25 orders a day that, could potentially go wrong. So, it's impossible for us to catch everything, although we have a lot of processes in place to make sure we catch the majority of sellers who either mislead customers or ship bad products or have a very, very poor service level standards. However, we as a company take full responsibility. If an item has been shipped that is incorrect or unsatisfactory to what you were expecting as a customer who placed an order, after the appropriate investigation is done, we will refund you. Now, I think the couple of problems we have in the market is a lot of our customers who have bad experiences, although that's the very few who do have a bad experience, sometimes blame the delivery rider for that. And the delivery rider is the harmless guy who's just doing the delivery. He has no idea what's in the package. He's not the person who is packing it or shipping it. He's just delivering it. So a lot of our customers, they try to film the delivery rider and blame that poor guy. And I think, that's very unfair. So I think, we have put processes in place for you to do a refund, to do a return. And, if you follow those processes, you will get a refund and a return will be processed. Now, because we have to investigate every time somebody does a return, because, we need to check with the seller whether the return is valid, because there are sometimes situations where the customers try to pull the system as well. Yeah. Well, somebody orders a watch and says they got a pen, and return the pen. And, we have customers who've kept the watch and get the refund, try to get the refund for the watch as well, because they claim they got a pen. And you have situations like that. Again, it's very much a very, very few people who do that. But because of those situations, we have processes in place to make sure that everything is checked and verified before we refund. Because if you refund incorrectly, it's a seller is out of pocket. And that's unfair for the seller if we don't do our job properly as well. So we want to make sure that everything is done properly, and sometimes that takes time. Now, a lot of the times, a lot of our complaints of customers come because they are annoyed that the refund takes too long, or the customer service agents have taken too long or can't resolve their problems immediately. And we're trying our best to make sure that all cases and resolutions happen in very short, very, very short time frames. But you're going to have cases where it doesn't. And unfortunately, those small minority of people who have bad experiences, a percentage of them could be very vocal and really try to tarnish the brand. And those are the kind of videos you've seen as well in social media and stuff like that.
Yeah, මගේ මම හිතන්නේ ඕගලන්ගෙන් ආපු ප්‍රශ්නයක් මම එතුමාට යොමු කරේ. ඒක තමයි social media වලයි හැමතැන සමහර තැන්වල සමහර අවස්ථාවලදී තියෙනවා වැරදි භාණ්ඩය ගියා. හරිද? ඉල්ලපු එක නෙමෙයි ආවේ වෙන එකක් ගියේ. හරිද? ඒ වගේ අවස්ථා ඒකේ කතාව ඇත්තද? හරිද? ඒ අවස්ථාවලදී මොනවද ඔයගොල්ලන් කරන්න කියන එක. ඉතින් ඒකට හලවිච්ච පිළිතුර තමයි ඔව්. දවසට 25000ක විතර පැකේජස් යනවා. සමහර අවස්ථාවලදී 100ට 1ක් වගේ අඩු අවස්ථාවකදී මේ වගේ දේවල් වෙනවා. හරිද? හැබැයි ඒකෙදී සමහරට ඩිලිවරි රයිට් එක බැලලා හරියන්නේ නැහැ. ඒකේ ඇත්තට වගකීම ආයතනයක් හැටියට ඒගොල්ලෝ බාර ගන්නවා. හැබැයි ඒකට ඉන්වෙස්ටිගේෂන් එකක් කරලා ඒගොල්ලෝ රිෆන්ඩ් කරන ප්‍රොසෙස් එකක් කරනවා. හැබැයි ඒ වගේම සමහර වෙලාවට එහෙම ඇත්තටම වෙන්නේ නැහැ. හැබැයි පාරිභෝගිකයන්නුත් ව්‍යාජ්‍ය ලෙස සමහරවට ඉතා සුළු පාරිභෝගිකයන්යක් ඒ වගේ අවස්ථා ටිකක් වැඩිපුර පෙන්වන්න උත්සාහ කරනවා කියන එක තමයි රකීල්ගේ පිළිතුරු උනේ ඒ ප්‍රශ්නෙට. The next question that I got from our listeners, we have over 250 participating today, Rakhil, for this program. The next one is, it's a very interesting question. How has been, you have been here for some time in the market and things have been happening. How has been the support that you have received from the government, from the banks, and from the different stakeholder groups or, regulation authorities? I think there's a lot of red tape sometimes. How has been the support you have got as a company? And what is your personal opinion about as the managing director? That's just on this. Your mic is off, Rakhil.
The government is always looking to find ways to improve digitization, to make, that I wouldn't say the government is backward thinking by any means. Now, like any government, sometimes things take time for things to implement. And I think that's the same in any part of the world. But, in my experience, it has been a very positive experience, to be honest with you, working with the government to look at ways to improve digitization, to make life easier for consumers, to make payments easier, to look at different aspects of the business, to improve digitization and to increase digital commerce. So I think, we as a company haven't, we're still relatively new to the market. And, like I said, e-commerce is still so small compared to overall retail that we still, operate without the, let's say, need for too much government intervention to help us grow at this stage. But I think, as we look forward, we plan to engage with the government even further to look at ways on how do we look at certain laws to improve digitization, to look at improving digital adoption. But, I think, the government's very susceptible and the discussions I've had with them this far have been very positive.
What about the banks who are support?
Yeah, I think, banks support-wise, it's a mixed bag. I think banks in some ways are very difficult entities to work with because they have so many processes and so many legacy systems that really, prevent them from engaging with us with the speed and the urgency that we sometimes need. Now, sometimes it's problems that I think we can deal with without the banks, but sometimes we look at ways where the banks have a really big gap in servicing the consumer. So that's another area where we feel we want to get into financial services as well, because we feel like we can have a far more customer-centric, data-centric approach to dealing with the consumers. And we want to really explore whether that is a product and service we can offer. Sometimes it could be with partnership with the bank as well, where the bank supports on the back end on the infrastructure, and we work on the front end on the consumer side, consumer engagement side. But overall, my experience with banks, again, I think on a very top level in Sri Lanka, senior management in banks especially, they're always very, very keen and very interested to look at all these new ways of engaging with consumers. But the problem is the minute you go into one level below, where you need to look at the processes and engage with the bank's core systems and processes, that's where things slow down. And that's because banks have these legacy technology and legacy processes that are decades old that is very difficult to change.
Thank you very much. ඔගලන්ගෙන් අහලා තිබු ප්‍රශ්න තමයි මේ ප්‍රොසෙස් එකට රජයේ ලැබුණු අනුග්‍රහය කොහොමද කියන එක ඒකට එතුමාගේ පිළිතුරු දුන්නේ ඉතාමත් සුබදායකයි. ඒ කියන්නේ ඔන්ලයින් ප්ලැට්ෆෝම්ස් වලටයි ඒකට ගොඩක් සහයෝගය රජයෙන් ලැබිලා තියෙනවා. ඊට පස්සේ තව මේකක් උනේ ආයතන විසින්, ඒ කියන්නේ ඩරාස් වගේ ආයතන විසින් රජයටත් අලුත් අදහස් දීලා තියෙනවා. මේ ප්ලැට්ෆෝම් එක තාම අලුත් 100ට පොඩි ප්‍රමාණයක් තමයි මේ ඔන්ලයින් ප්ලැට්ෆෝම්ස් වල විකුණන්නේ. ඒකින්ද ඒවට නීති සමහරක් ඒවා නැහැ නීති පොත්වල. ඒකින්ද ආයතන හැටියට ඒගොල්ලොන්ගේ අදහස් රජයටත් දීලා තියෙනවා කියන එක. ඊට පස්සේ ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ තව අහලා තිබ්බ තමයි බැංකු වලින් ලැබුණු සහයෝගය කොහොමද කියන එක අලුතෙන් පටන් ගද්දී ඒකට පිළිතුරු වුණේ ඇත්තටම බැංකු වලින් මුලදී ලොකු සපෝට් එකක් හම්බුන්නේ නැහැ කියන එක නෙමෙයි. හැබැයි සිස්ටම් එක නෝමලි අමාරු හින්දා යම් කිසි ප්‍රශ්න තිබ්බා. හැබැයි සමහර බැංකු වලින් ඉතාමත් සහයෝගයක් ලබා දීලා තියෙනවා කොච්චර තිබ්බත්. හැබැයි ඒක හැමතිස්සම සිටුේෂන් එක අනුව ඒගොල්ලොන් බැංකුත් අර වින් සිටුේෂන් කියන එකේදී ඇනලයිස් කරලා සපෝට් කරා කියන එක තමයි පිළිතුර උනේ, right? ඊට පස්සේ the next question that I have is again a question that we even got yesterday, and it's a very relevant question for new startups. So what they want to know is if you're starting up a new business in a small scale on the platform that you're operating in a digital platform, can you give some advice of some marketing tips of how they can market themselves, because they don't have much funds or budgets at the initial stage to do a lot of marketing, right? So how can they market themselves as a startup or a new business?
So I think, what I find if you look at other markets, especially in the West, or more mature markets compared to, let's say, Sri Lanka or more emerging markets, I find that a lot of startup entrepreneurs, they're not, let's say, aggressive enough or risk takers or experimenting enough with their marketing. The biggest problem when launching a company is that most people, you started with very little money. So how do you make that noise online? Or how do you make that noise to consumers for them to hear you and see you? I think personally, the only way you can make a noise is to be bold, to do things differently, to do things that will really stand out to the level where people may think it's crazy. People may think it's completely out there, but who cares? As long as they know it's your brand who's being crazy, that's what matters, because then they know find out about your brand and hear about it and may check it out and may buy what you're selling. And what I find is a lot of Sri Lankan brands and a lot of Sri Lankan entrepreneurs sometimes are just too conservative. They take the safe approach when it comes to branding, and they don't be creative enough or be crazy enough to really get people aware of their brand. If you Google and look at strategies of startups, one idea that I always go back to is something called guerrilla marketing. And guerrilla marketing is doing things outside the conventional. Yeah. And if you find the right tactic in guerrilla marketing, you can build a lot of noise. You can build a lot of awareness with very, very little money spent. And I think a lot of people don't do enough of that in Sri Lanka.
Right. මං හිතන්නේ ඒකේ මාකටිං ගැන තමයි ඇහුවේ. කොහොමද අලුත් කම්පැනියක් හැටියට අපි මාකට් කරන්නේ, හරිද? ඒ කියන්නේ cost effective විදිහට. ඉතින් ඇත්තටම මම හිතන්නේ ඊට වැදගත් කාරණයක් මිස් රකිල් කිව්වා. යා කියන්නේ ගරිල්ලා මාකටිං ටයිප්. ඒ කියන්නේ මේ හිතා ගන්න බැරි මොන හරි පොඩි දෙයක් කරන්න ලොකු ඉම්පැක්ට් එකක් ඇති කරන, because ලොකු දේවල් කරන්න බැරි හින්දා. So ඒකෙන් ඇති වෙන maybe controversial කියන සමහර ඒ වගේ සිටුේෂන් එකකින් දැන් අපි දැක්කොත් සමහරලාට ඔය මම to add to this Mr. රකී කියන මගේ මේක දානවා නම් අපි දකිනවා මේ ඔය සමහර comediansලා දෙන්නෙක්, හරිද? එක්ක විහිළු කතාවක් කොච්චර ජනප්‍රිය වෙලා තියෙනවද, හරිද? අද ඒගොල්ලෝ කොච්චර ලෙවල් එකට ගිහිලා තියෙනවද? සමහරට ඒ පොඩි ඇඩ්වර්ටයිස්මන්ට් එකකින් යන නොයිස් එක. ඉතින් ඇත්තටම ඊටමත් වැදගත් පොයින්ට් එකක්. ඉතින් මොන හරි හොඳට හිතලා පොඩි දෙයක් හරියට කරන්න, because ඔයගොල්ලන්ට වැඩි ස්පෙන්ඩ් කරන්න නැත්නම් ඒක තමයි කරන්න තියෙන හොඳම දේ. Then there is another question where someone is asking, what do you think the potential for web development companies in the future for Sri Lanka is?
I think there's huge potential. I think the type of web development you do is very important. I think general sort of basic website design, I think that is now quite commoditized, and you actually don't if I want to make a website, I don't need to hire a developer anymore. I can go and build my own website on Wix or some other platform that has this more sort of SaaS level web development needs. So I think basic web development is probably now a bit old-fashioned. But if you can look at specialized web development in specific languages that require specific required for specific products or specific types of needs, I think that still has a lot of potential. I'm not a software engineer by any means to give you too much advice in this area, but based on our needs as a company, when we want to build a basic website or something like that, we no longer go to a developer, we build it on Wix and stuff like that. So I think if you can be trained up in specific types of languages, then there's definitely scope.
Right. So I think the answer for that web developing වලට potential එකක් තියෙනවාද කියලා අහලා තියෙනවා. එතකොට මිස් රකිල් කියන්නේ ඔව් දැන් ගොඩක් කට්ටිය තමන්ගේම වෙබ්ස් ඩෙවලොප් කරනවා, ගොඩක් අලුත් තේවා තියෙන හින්දා මේ මාකට් එකේ යම්කිසි පිරිහීමක් තියෙනවා. හැබැයි අලුත් අයිඩියාස් වලට, ඉනොවේටිව් තින්කින් වලට, හරිද? අලුත් ඉනොවේටිව් දේවල් කරොත් ඩෙෆිනිට්ලි මාකට් එකට ලොකු පොටෙන්ෂල් එකක් තියෙනවා. because ක්‍රියේටිවිටි කියන එක හැමෝටම කරන්න බැරි දෙයක්. ඉතින් ඒකට තාම හොඳ මාකට් එකක් තියෙනවා කියන එක තමයි එතුමාගේ අදහස. So Rakhil, I think we had that's all the questions I have got from all our participants. I think I covered most of them, and with also the time constraint. So thank you very much for your valuable time and participating in this event, because actually this is a series of programs that we are going. Yesterday we spoke about traditional marketing, and today here. I think so. Thank you very much for participating for this event.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. මේට සහභාගී වූ හැමෝටම මම ස්තුතිවන්ත වෙනවා. අපේ Biz Zone ආයතනයට නැවතත් මෙම ප්‍රෝග්‍රෑම් එක අද හෝස්ට් කිරීම ගැනයි ශ්‍රී ලංකා අලෙවිකාරණ මණ්ඩලයේ සහභාගී වූ හැමෝටමයි ස්තුතිවන්ත වෙනවා. අපි හෙට කතා කරන්නේ තවත් entrepreneur කෙනෙක් එක්ක ව්‍යාපාරයක් පටන් ගත්ත ධනික. මම හිතන්නේ භාෂා කියන කිව්වොත් ඔයගොල්ලන් හැමෝම අහලා ඇති. භාෂා කියන සිංහල ටයිපින් සිස්ටම් එක ලංකාවට හඳුන්වා දුන්න කෙනා කියලා කිව්වොත් නිවැරදි වෙන්න පුළුවන්. හරිද? නිවැරදි වෙයි. ඉතින් ධනිකත් එක තමයි අපි හෙට කතා බහ කරන්නේ. ධනිකගේ ප්‍රසන්ටේෂන් එකක් තියෙයි හෙට. එතුමා යාගේ ජීවිතේ ඔන්ටර්ප්‍රෙනර් කෙනෙක් හැටියට හොම්මත පටන් ගත්තේ. අද අපි දැක්කා මිස් රකිල්ගේ ගොඩක් පොයින්ට්ස් ටිකක් ඔයගලට හම්බුණා. දරාස් කියන ආයතනය ඉන්ටර්නැෂනල් ප්ලැට්ෆෝම් එකකට කොහොමද ආවේ කියන එක. මේක ශ්‍රී ලාංකීය ආයතනයක් කොහොමද ඒගොල්ලොන්ගේ බිස්නස් දිවිය පටන් ගත්තේ, ඒගොල්ලොන් දැන් අද කොත්තනද ඉන්නේ, හරිද? කොතනටද යන්නේ බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන එක කියන එක අපිට හෙට බලා ගන්න පුළුවන් වෙයි. ඉතින් අදත් මෙම වැඩසටහනට සහභාගී වූ ඔබ සැමටම ශ්‍රී ලංකා අලෙවිකරණ ආයතනයේ වෙනුවෙන් මම ස්තුතිවන්ත වෙනවා. right? හෙට වැඩසටහනටත් ඔයගොල්ලන් හැමෝගෙම සහභාගීත්වය බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. සැමටම සුබ රාත්‍රියක්. අයබෝවන්.
You.
Thank you.